What's up, welcome back, Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Nosferatu, the new Robert Eggers gothic horror film starring Bill Skarsgård and Lily-Rose Depp and many other familiar faces like Aaron Taylor Johnson, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult. Nosferatu is the latest attempt at a Dracula story, of course, a remake of F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu from 1922, which of course was inspired by the original Dracula novel by Bram Stoker. Dracula has been adapted dozens of times. Of course, we've gotten hundreds of vampire films in general, so this is well trodden ground. And of course, I was interested in this movie more than I normally would be because I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers, who is one of the most exciting directors of this new ascendant class over the last 10 years or so. This is his fourth film, the follow up to The Northman from a few years ago, a movie I absolutely loved. It's an Eggers reunion with Ralph Ineson from his debut film The Witch, and also reunion Willem Dafoe, the co-star of The Lighthouse. And I'm getting to this late, of course. This came out back on Christmas, the one movie I didn't get to before the holidays. And yeah, I mean, I'm not usually much of a horror guy, but I will say Nosferatu is not as like scary as like traditional horror films go. This is certainly a creepy movie, an unsettling movie. There are some scary images for sure, plenty of gore and disgusting things happening. So like scary, with soft quotes around it. I didn't find it too hard to watch personally. I quite enjoyed Robert Eggers' Nosferatu for its craft and its attention to telling this familiar story. I was a bit surprised to see that the story is more or less straightforward, kind of familiar in terms of the Dracula Nosferatu lore that everyone kind of knows. This isn't too much of a spin on that story. Things that you do get that I think really stand out include the portrayal of Nosferatu, Bill Skarsgård's Count Orlok character. This is not the charming, debonair Dracula we've seen before. This is a decaying Nosferatu, very ugly, very gross. Lily-Rose Depp, someone who has, I think, had an up and down career to this point, looking at The Idol, I think she does a really good job having to portray a lot of physicality and a lot of tough scenes in this movie. Of course, unsurprisingly, the production design, the sound design, the cinematography in this movie really pop, to be expected with Eggers at this point. In the end, I think Nosferatu is a movie that I really appreciate and I think is certainly successful, but I don't think it necessarily transcends this material. Eggers has talked about having like a fascination for, the Dracula story from a young age, having been involved with like a stage adaptation in his early career, and you just get a sense that this is something he really wanted to do, and obviously his attention to detail as a creator really stands out in how he made this movie. That said, I'm certainly looking forward to his next film, which I assume will be another original creation a la his first three films. Some choices, kind of on the side of the story with Nosferatu that I quite enjoyed. When Nicholas Holt's Thomas Hutter, of course, a central character in the Nosferatu story, when Hutter goes to Count Orlok's castle, in Transylvania, Eastern Europe, wherever it's supposed to take place, we actually get to spend some time with the locals, like Gypsy, Eastern European, Slavic perhaps group. And I think that was like really cool. We watched them actually stake a different vampire. Like I think that kind of stuff really popped. I also loved, in the second half of the movie when Count Orlok returns to civilization, he brings with him like the plague with rats on the ship. Like I thought that was like a really uh, cool way to portray the like dread and death that he brings, physically manifesting that, with the rats and whatnot. Ralph Ineson is the doctor, and Willem Dafoe is the disgraced, believing in the mysticism doctor as well. They both, I think, really shine. Like this is material Dafoe can do. Like knows like the back of his hand. He's excellent in this movie. But really, I think that the best thing about the movie, and these are themes that Eggers hasn't even really talked about or acknowledged, but just the way Lily-Rose Depp is able to imbue the hysteria that comes with the psychological element of the Nosferatu character. Lily-Rose Depp's Ellen, she's not being believed by anyone, and everyone thinks these things about her because she can't convince anyone of what's happening to her and the relationship psychologically that's happened with Nosferatu. I think all that kind of stuff, the gender angle to the movie, both the Nosferatu specific stuff and the stuff that's perhaps a little bit bigger, just like the gender roles of the time, things like that. I think that stuff really works and is also probably the strongest stuff in the movie that's a little bit unique to this version of the tale. And yeah, I think just kind of in conclusion, everything about the movie is well told, and then when you get to the end, it's a climax that you understand what's coming because this is not going to be a new spin on how this story ends. Some really strong imagery at the very end, thinking of the bed scene there. Um, but like I think on the other hand, like maybe I'm like there's like a lacking of any like additional investment because it just feels like a story you already know. So again, like I think for me, it's more of an appreciation of the craft of some of the differences, some of the portrayals that I think really will stand up with this. But to me, I mean, do I like this as much as The Lighthouse or The Northman? I do not. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. Again, this is an adaptation of a story that's been told so many times, and this is another, I think, really loving and successful version of that tale. But yeah, let me know. What did you think of Nosferatu? Which, by the way, has been a great success at the box office, becoming, I believe, the second or third highest grossing Focus Features film thus far, with more room to grow. It's performing very well. What did you think of it? What was your favorite aspect of it? And for more movie reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.